today. John, thank you very much, first of all, for always coming on and giving us your time. You've been a dear friend of mine for a little while now, a mentor come good friend. So I do appreciate you a lot. And everybody knows you. You're just a one of the most influential person that we know in real estate, and one of the kindest as well. Of course, always there to help.
The second compliment's much greater than the first, so thank you. Being kind is more important than being successful, I think. But I'm very happy to strive to be both. Excuse my little dash hand in the background. She's scratching on the door, so you might hear a bit of noise.
Cutie. She's a cutie. She's got a nice bed there. Just about to go to bed. Go to bed, huh?
Exactly right. Exactly right. What are we talking about today?
I just want you to start off with, obviously the market has turned. The market is not like it was 12 months ago, 18 months ago, even 6 months ago. And I think it's going to get worse before it's going to get better as interest rate is hiking. Now, what is your thoughts in the next 9 to 12 months?
Okay, I'll give you a couple of layers of answer. I'm not trying to complicate it, but I'm just trying to share my philosophy on life and sales. First thing is, the only market that matters to anyone watching this call, this audio or the video, is the inner market, as we call it, and I've spoken to you about that. So the inner market is not interest rates, it's not the economy, it's not your competition, it's you. And I always take the view that markets forever, as long as you're in the game, you're going to fluctuate up and down, and there's going to be more stock and less stock, and one day there's going to be a guy arrives on the corner opposite you and he's going to do things for 1%, he's going to pay marketing if he's not already there, and so on and so forth. So in terms of an agent watching this and saying, so, you know, how do I plan ahead with the market? I'm saying how you plan ahead is you look at the market that you control, which is the inner market, and mate, we can talk about that after this. Number two is, you know, what do I think the outer market's going to do going forward? I think right now, certainly in Australia, and I'm not sure if New Zealand or Christchurch is the same, but the market's actually quite strong. It's just listings are very short. Is that similar to you, where you are at the moment?
It's more the other way around. We've got plenty of listings. We've got more stock and less buyers. With the interest rate hiking, the buyers are coming out of market. And even when they make an offer on it, sometimes they don't go through. Majority of them because just that much restrictions and
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's almost the exact opposite. Well, it is the exact opposite. Right now in Australia, if you turn up to an auction on the weekend for a good property, you're going to have 8, 10 buyers bidding. It's going to go to or above reserve. The problem is that most buyers can't find anything. And part of the reason the market's so strong here is there's a lack of stock. But more importantly, let's address the New Zealand market, because most of the listeners are Kiwis, I assume. In the event that interest rates, again, go up and go down. They've been at record lows. Back when, you know, I was selling a lot more full-time than I am today. You know, I went through a period where the interest rates are at 17.5%, where virtually you couldn't buy anything unless you were paying cash or unless you had 80% cash. So I look at it right now, and I think the biggest problem is the fact that it's escalated so quickly. The current interest rate levels, they're obviously a lot more than they were a year ago. But historically, most New Zealanders and Australians are used to paying around 7.5% on average for that, which is kind of more than we're paying today, or about what we're starting to pay today. So I think the problems are going to be people that took fixed interest rates for 3 years that are now expiring, and they've got to go from 2% to 6.5%, 7%, whatever. That's a problem, because if you haven't prepared for it and if you don't have a buffer, financially, you're going to be in some level of strain. Hence, perhaps where you guys are at, you're getting a lot of stock coming onto the market that might have some degree of current or potential mortgage stress.
Exactly.
So what I think, Nath, you've got to do is, as an agent, in a sense, nothing changes too much. You've got to be there with your finger on the pulse, pricing property properly, giving great service, having a great story to tell about why to sell through you. And with buyers, because you're telling me that the buyers are perhaps the hesitant ones, and I take what you say. So buyers, here's the deal. If a buyer is looking or inquiring right now, they want to buy.
Yeah.
People don't go around on Saturday going to open homes because they don't want to buy, or they've got nothing else to do. 99 out of 100 buyers that inquire on email or on the phone or at an open home actually want to buy. What they need is some level of confidence and comfort, which comes through the agent, that A, this is a good property, they're not buying a dud, and B is the world's not about to cave in, and this is not a crazy time to be buying real estate. I actually think if I was talking to a buyer, I'd be saying, Nathan, this is probably the best time. You know, if you ask me the question, when's the best time to buy real estate? The answer is 20 years ago. When's the second best time to buy real estate? It's today. Why? Because, you know, we've seen a correction in most markets. Long term, and no one should be buying real estate for the short term. Long term, the average New Zealander holds their property for about 10 years. And if it's anything like Australia, the average homeowner in Australia doubles their value of their property every 10 years, a bit less, usually every 8 years. So buying property actually right now is a great thing to do. And you would have heard of or know of the great Warren Buffett, right? He's the best investor in the world, and he's made himself a multi-billionaire through shrewd, long-term, patient investing. And his philosophy, Nate, is when everyone else is panicking and depressed, that's the time to buy. And when everyone else is celebrating and high-fiving each other about how much their property's gone up, that's the time to be selling. So right now, because there is a level of nervousness in the market, it's actually a great time to be buying. So I say to people, firstly, Nate, how long are you going to own the property? And you'll tell me 10 years until the kids leave school, whatever is the answer. It's going to be a long time. It's not going to be a year or two. And I say, so here's the deal, Nate. I don't know if we're at the very bottom. I don't know if just past the bottom or if we're about to hit the bottom, but I know that right now, having been through a correction over a period of time, the market is in a time in the cycle where you should be buying. Two is when you come back to give it to me to sell in 8 to 10 years' time, historically, you're going to double your money. So well done in advance, whether you buy this property or anything else or the next property. Three is you're never going to be able to pick the bottom. And I say to people, and, you know, I guess you can only say this if it's true for you, but I say to people, I've been in real estate 40 years, and I can tell you, no one has ever picked the top or the bottom until they look back in the rear vision mirror and they say, oh, okay, I reckon the bottom was, 3 months ago, or I reckon the top was a year ago. So, buyers are really just looking for a level of confidence, some logic and rationale. And, I've got a, which I'll send to you, you can share with your clients if you like. And it's Australia, but you'll find the data for New Zealand. If you look at the last 9 market cycles, ups and downs from peak to trough, the average that a market goes down is about 18 months in Australia. That's the average amount of time. And the average amount that it comes down is less than 10%. And then, of course, it goes back and it goes back on its merry way. So I think a lot of agents, it's a bit like fees for agents. Agents think that vendors are hooked up on fees and they're focused on fees and they're not going to hire you unless you discount. Whereas vendors are just looking for the best agent and they'll pay the right fee. They'll ask for a discount, but they'll pay the right fee. I think in terms of the market, the buyers they want to feel they've found somewhere they really like. They want to feel they're paying the right price for the current climate. And they want to feel like they're not silly in buying right now. And I actually think the opposite. Take the Warren Buffett approach. You're smart if you're buying while there's a period where other people are nervous. The worst thing to be doing is buying when everyone's in the market. Yeah. So if you're capable of purchasing, which means you've got the cash, you've got the finance, you're ready to go, perfect time to buy. That's my belief and my story to buyers if I'm talking to them.
Here's the thing though, John. That's great. That's great summary of the market for sure. And what the thing is, like, for the last 24 months, we had a great time. Like, everybody was having bowl, and you didn't need to be much good to show houses or get listings. Really, you just need to be there. Now,
Yep.
in this downturn, a lot of agents are being nervous because they just came into the business two years ago. So it's kind of like the tide has lifted everybody up, including them. Now they're nervous. What do you think or suggest to people who've been in the business for a long time and they're like panicking now, or just started 2 years ago and they were having fun and now the tide has gone up? What they should do?
Well, no need to panic whether you've been in the market a year or a decade, or like me, 4 decades. I mean, the market is the market, and there are still things that are selling, and maybe there's a few less buyers, and maybe there's a bit more stock. Well, whatever it is, if you're a great agent out there, Nath, with a good mindset, focused on the inner market, not the outer market, remember,
Yeah,
you are going to do extraordinarily well. It's funny when remember when COVID, right? Kind of feels like a long time ago. I guess it was a few years ago when COVID came in. So we did a daily webinar. I think I used to send you a link so you could listen to some of it.
Yeah.
So what happened was, I spoke to Matt Steinway. I said, "Oh, Matt, well, I want you to be on the very first daily webinar we do for the team." And I said to him, "Matt, how are you dealing with COVID?" And COVID had started like 2 weeks before. So then we started doing the one-on-ones daily. He said, "Yeah, Johnny, it's pretty easy." He said, "We had, like 30 vendors. We rang them all up and we said, look, unusual times. What do you want to do? Do you want to keep selling, or do you want to take it off the market for the time being?" He said about 50% of them said, happy to keep selling. Look, we got to sell, we want to sell, and, let's just go ahead.
Yeah.
So he said, we just focused on those 15 listings, and the 15 people that said, "Oh, we're not sure if the world's going to win, what's going to happen, let's just keep it off the market for a minute." Then they did the same thing with buyers. They rang them all and they just said, "Just giving you a courtesy call. We're just checking with all our clients to see." And he said, amazingly, about the same thing happened. About half of them said still happy to buy, and the other half said going to sit on the fence and see what happens. So he said, Johnny, I'm not the smartest tool in the shed, but I just take a common sense approach. So he said, we just focused on the vendors that want to sell and the buyers that want to buy, and we put them together. And he just had an incredible year. I think he wrote $7 or $8 million in that year.
Yeah.
And so my perspective is, let's not overcomplicate these things. If you've been in the market only 2 years and things were easier 2 years ago or a year ago, I get it. But you've got to pivot. You've got to adjust. Now, if back then it might have been less sellers and buyers, and it could, now it's gone the other way. Well, all you need to do is be working with more buyers. Most agents are incredibly lazy. They meet 50 buyers on a weekend at open homes, or maybe 30 buyers. They hardly follow any of them up. They ring them up. Those that they can't place into a property almost immediately, they hardly follow up. My view is, everyone on this call, listening on this call, you should have 100 active buyers you're working with at least. And you should be every single week staying in touch, texting them, emailing them, offering them property, touching base. How are things going? Have you seen anything? Just getting market data on the phone all day, every day. Alex Phillips writes about 20 million GCI in Sydney. He used to work with us. He's a wonderful guy, a great agent, number one in Aussie at the moment. And I've got to tell you, from before 7 a.m. till around dinner time when he goes home to his family, he is all day, every day on the phone, one call to the next, taking, receiving, calling, whatever. He's incredible. He would make, 200 connects a day, but from the beginning of the day, from when he wakes up until when he goes home for dinner, he is on the phone all day, every day. A lot of agents, they're just kind of sitting there waiting for something to happen. So what I'd say to people who just entered the market in the better times, or, the better out of market times, and now it's tightening up, hey, you can do better now than you did 18 months ago. You've just got to have the mindset and the process, and you've got to be out there, and you've got to be doing what Alex Phillips does, just calling, following up, or being organised, sense of urgency, confidence, calm, excitement, all of the above. And if you do that, man, it doesn't really matter. So, for me, the outer market's irrelevant. I try and keep in touch a bit because, it's good as a real estate agent roughly to know where interest rates are at, roughly to see where the economy's at, just to kind of have it in the back of your mind if someone raises it as a subject. But I don't get fixated on it. I just kind of like, if you focus on your buyers and you focus on your sellers, you almost don't have to know anything else. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. There's always buyers, there's always sellers, regardless of what the market is doing. The thing is, like, pick up the phone, make a damn phone call, right? And they convert to leads, and leads convert to, if you raise your standards, the way you present, so the leads convert to listings, and listings convert to sales. And like you said, 100 people come through an open home, and all those 100 people, they've got houses to sell. You just got to diligently follow them up from there.
No, let me tell you a little. I was coaching a guy a few months ago, and he said, "Oh, listings are short." I hear that all the time in Sydney. It's obviously different in Queensland, but in Australia, most agents they're fast to tell you how short listings are. Yeah. And I said, "Really?" And they said, "Yeah, really tight." CoreLogic or realestate.com or someone said, "Oh, they're down 35%." I said, "Just remind me of the 3 suburbs you're focused on," and they gave me 3 addresses. So I went to realestate.com and I punched in those 3 suburbs. Then I clicked the box that said adjoining suburbs. Then I clicked the search all property, all price range. In those 3 suburbs and adjoining, there was 176 listings. And I had a look and I said, "How many listings do you have?" They said, "We got 4. I said, "So just answer me this. Is the problem that there's only 176 listings, or is the problem that 172 of them didn't choose you?" And there was this pause, and they looked at me and they said, "Yeah." So I said, so at the moment it sounds like you got 2 or 3% market share. Not good enough. If you had 10% market share, you'd have 17, 18 listings. You'd be telling me how great things are. So you've got to be careful with listening to data, statistics. You've got to be careful with listening to the outer market. You've got to be careful with reading the media. Really, right now, every single listener has probably, at the moment, there's probably 60 or 70 listings within a 20-minute drive of their office. The only question is how many have got your signboard out the front.
You've got some of the best agents on the planet, and you've taught thousands, and you've probably meet that many. I'm just wondering, like, if I can get you 5 things the best agents do consistently, or if you were going to coach a brand new agent or an agent's been around for a while, these are the 5 things the best of the best do it consistently. You inevitably will be successful. It's like it's science, right?
Yeah, look, and as you know, I haven't prepared any of this. I'm just going off my gut responses to everything. So it won't be 5; it'll be more than 5. And some of them will be characteristics that I know I observe. Some of them will be things they do, habits, and whatever. So what are the best? So I think of Matt Steinway. Matt Steinway, incredible mental attitude, laser focused on the inner market, on what he controls, totally disregards and doesn't get distracted by anything else, loves serving people, passionate about service, energy plus, like he's like the Energizer Bunny. Do you have the Energizer Bunny in New Zealand? Like the Duracell, you wind up the Duracell battery and the bunny goes all day. Matt's like the Energizer Bunny, man of high integrity, beautiful human being. Got a great team. He's built a great team around him, and that's a trait that I'm seeing most of the high volume agents is they've built and kept a great team around them, whether it's 2 people or 5 people, but they've generally assembled that. Product knowledge, extraordinary. Product knowledge with Matt Steinway, second to none. No one in his market would know more about his market than him. Doesn't do outbound prospecting. His team does. Personally doesn't do what I'd call traditional networking, but he's networking 24/7. Wherever he goes, to the shops, to the supermarket, goes for a surf, goes to the beach, walks down the street, goes to the gym. He's just always meeting people, chatting, and people love him because he's so authentic. So I look at that. Alex Jordan, dear friend of yours and mine, possibly the best agent. Yeah, possibly the best agent that I've seen in Australasia in 40 years. In my
just asked him. He did 9.1 million in commission last 12 months. He's a freak.
Yeah. He's on track to do more than 10 million this year. In a market where most people are saying, listings are very tight, of course, but he's not saying that. So Alex Jordan, honest, thoughtful, doesn't rush people. He gives people what I would call trusted advisor energy.
Yeah.
So when he's sitting with you, he will listen very well, listens very well, and he will understand. So empathy, he'll understand your situation.
Yeah.
Integrity, he will only give advice that serves you, not him. If the best advice is, Nathan, I think you should keep the house for the next 5 years, he'll tell you. So he doesn't worry about the commission. He's not desperate for your listing. He'll say, tell me why you think of selling. What's the reason? What's the timing? What are you going to do with the money if you sell it? And he'll dive in and make sure that the client's best interest is being looked after. Very big on social media now, Alex Jordan. If the listeners haven't joined in to watch him or follow him, they should. Alex Jordan. I don't know what his handle or tag or whatever is, but they'll find him. Very good on video now, doing a lot of video market reports. Doing a lot of beautiful videos for his listings and properties. Social media. He said the thing that helped him go quickly from 6 million to 10 million was astute use of social media, both for selling his properties and also for doing his personal branding. So he's extraordinary. Amit Nayak, a young Indian boy.
He's a great man too.
Isn't he a champion? You met him when you were here last time. You went out there. He's a great guy.
He's a friend. He's a friend now.
He did in March. He did 22 sales. So just to keep you updated, Amit. Again, commonality is integrity. Cares about people. Brilliant product knowledge. He has a system. His system is he likes to auction properties. He likes doing open home inspections. He has a team of 3 people that follow buyers through until they buy through him or someone else. Just extraordinary attention to detail. Every Tuesday, he does a Zoom call with each one of his vendors to give them a weekly report on what's happening. He speaks to them basically every day, but he does his calls on Tuesdays, which saves him because he might have 20 vendors at any one given point. So it's very hard to go out and see them all, meet them all, and so that'll take you 3 days. He does most of it in about 3 hours through 15-minute blocks of vendor calls. So I think the success secrets are not that secretive, really. Product knowledge, passion to serve people, organisation. You've got to be organised because if you're going to handle more than 2 or 3 sales a month, you've got to be on top of everything. Talk straight. No one's got time for riddles nowadays. No one's got time for, we're not really sure, and maybe make an offer and we're not sure what it's going to be worth, and you have to turn up to the auction. People want some straight talk. Nathan, bang, here it is. Vendor would like to get 1.3 million. Last 3 sales have been between 1.2 and 1.3. So I don't think the vendor is far off the mark. Will they sell it before? I think if you're in the 1.3 or more, they'll probably sell before. If not, I think they'll probably want to run to auction to make sure they get the best possible price. But if you've got any budget between 1.2 and 1.4 million, I'd say, come and look at it. It's a great home and it's going to sell on the day. It's straight, plain talk, letting people that are busy and don't want to try and figure out what the real truth is. You just got to do it. But that conversation that I just had, which is so damn easy, Nate, but it's so rare. No one does it. Everyone wants to prick it up and, we're not really sure and we can't really quote price because the price is really too hard to determine. Just tell me the honest truth about what the vendor's looking for, what you think it's worth, what else is sold. So they're all straight talkers, whether it's Matt or Amit or Alex, they're all just they talk straight to people.
Hey, tell me that you coined, and as I got to know you, I personally specialize in the area. Now we got 54% market share. We did about 1.5 million out of that suburb, just one suburb, right? And nobody in Christchurch specializes in one particular area. It sounds like insanity to me once I got to know it. but they don't because the so-called franchise companies don't allow that. And obviously back then it used to be a lot, but now it's kind of changed. They like to not have agents dominate an area because agents can go to any brand they like to, so they kind of like let them just sell houses anywhere and everywhere. Talking to that, like you probably coined the word because I think you were in specialized in Paddington, right? When you sold 40 years ago, and also the price guides. I think those two things are so important. Like straight talking, we do that. Like all our properties got price guides, almost 99.95% of them.
Well, look, price guides, which are a printed guide, and printing nowadays usually means the internet. So rather than just putting auction, price on request, contact agent, all that rubbish, which some of our agents still do, which I hate. But anyway, most of them don't. Most of them are transparent on pricing. You just put the price out there, and you put 1.4 to 1.5, or 2 to 2.2, or 800 to 875, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really important. In terms of focus area, so Alex Jordan, when I met him, he was writing 380,000
Yeah.
GCI. He'd been in the industry about a decade, so he wasn't a newbie. And I said, man, having met you, and I was trying to recruit him, he wasn't working for us yet. I said, having now met you, I'm trying to figure out what am I not seeing? Because I'm seeing a guy who's beautifully presented, articulate, intelligent, very good quality human being who's writing a rubbish number. And I don't say that to be rude to anyone, but for him, 380 was just like, why on earth would you be stopping at 380? And anyway, I convinced him that he was $1 million agent, and if he joined us, I'll help and I'll coach him. And long story short is, he's joined and he's the one that's done 10 million this year.
Interesting.
But the thing that's relevant to your question before is he was focused on or not focused is probably the right way of putting it, but he was on a farm an area of about 10,000 homes.
Yeah.
And one of the early pieces of advice was look, maybe we'll get back to 10,000, but let's just double click and laser focus on 1,000 homes. Yeah. And let's work out which 1,000 homes, which area do you love the most, which area have you had the most success. Let's work that, and let's door knock every property. Let's get to know everyone. Let's put a market report in the mailbox. Let's become an expert in the area. So he did that. So he went from 10,000 to 1,000. So as part of his success story of going from 380 to 10 million is he did less. Now he's expanded that a bit more because he's got more successful and he's built a team of a few people under him. So he's kind of expanded out a bit more. Sarah Hackett, that doesn't work for us, but she's a great agent. She's one of the principals of Place, a great company in Brisbane. She spoke at AREC probably a dozen years ago, maybe 15 years ago. And she said, my market area, her market area was like 400 homes. And I'm thinking, wow, she's one of the top agents in Australia and her market area, so her core market, again, that doesn't mean you can't list outside that area or you don't list. It just means that you are laser focused on a smaller piece of dirt, smaller group of people, and you give them amazing service and you create raving fans, and then they tell other people, and then it just spreads. So you're like dropping a pebble in the pond and it spreads to the adjoining suburbs. So I would concentrate more, pull it back. Very hard to have 10,000 properties and become an expert. You really have to bring the focus in a bit more narrow.
So you zoom in and then go out, right? You got to zoom in first of all, become a surgeon, and then once people get to know you, then you can spread out. You just can't dominate 400,000 people. Just insanity, right? You just can't. Like from 380,000, you go to 10 million. Well, we've told you that specializing in an area really works.
Yeah.
Excuses mooring lines. I've heard you speak about mooring lines, and I love it. Could you cover that, please, for us? Because I know the market gets tougher, and these whole lot of excuses that we can make, right?
Yeah. So when I'm coaching people, I just say one of the most important things is what I call extreme ownership, which means no excuses at all for anything. If you don't achieve the result we've agreed is important, let's just work out why not and go forward. Don't make an excuse. Don't tell me about the agent across the road that discounts and pays for marketing. Just work out, because my view in that instance, you're 2.5%, the guy across the row is 1%. You've just got to show the reason that you're 1.5% better. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. And most of the discount agents are woeful, terrible, terrible amateurs.
That's why they discount.
Yeah, if you get to a point where you have no excuses in your life, and you don't blame the person in the office, you don't say, "Oh, my principal's not training me," and "Oh, my brand's not attractive," whatever. Because if you're working for a brand that's less attractive, you can be attractive within that brand. If you get my meaning. So if once you've eradicated excuses, you're left with the truth, and the truth is you didn't prepare well enough, or you didn't have a good enough answer when they said, "Will you match the agent at 1%?" And you stumbled and you spluttered and you look like an amateur yourself, and then they signed up with the other agent. So mooring lines are a form of, it holds you back. A mooring line is a thought that you have about yourself or about the world that holds you back, and they're never true. So if I said, "Nate, coaching you, tell me, last year I just noticed, you had a pretty flat year. Tell me what happened last year." And then if you said, "Oh, John, geez, the market was tough, and this new bloody agent that's moved in, he's come down from Auckland and he's moved in and he's paying for marketing and he's 1% agent. And it's just, it's really smashed me around." So that's your mooring line, which is an excuse or a mental belief, which is actually not true.
Yeah.
But it's holding you back. So the concept is mooring lines hold you back from your future destiny. So what you've got to do is just imagine that you and I were sitting there, or whoever you are listening here, and if I was coaching you, and if I asked the question, so Sally, tell me, last year, you did okay, 425,000. That's not too bad. I've certainly coached a lot of people who have done worse. But Sally, 425, just tell me why didn't you write $1 million last year? Tell me what you would say, or what you would write down as, if I said prepare the answer, what would you write down? That's the best start for your mooring lines, because none of them are real. None of them are. Sorry. Well, I say none of them are real. 90% of them aren't real. If someone said, I had stage 3 cancer and I was in hospital, you get it. There are occasionally absolutely real reasons that you put your life on pause. But one of them is not an agent across the road moved in and started paying for marketing and discounting. One of them is not listings went from where they were to 28% less. I could care less. All you got to do is get 6 this month and you've had a great month. Believe me, there are more than 6 in every market that's listening to this. There's a lot more than 6 sales. The only question is, how many did you have, which means what market share did you have?
Yeah.
I think you've got to get rid of mooring lines. We say snip the mooring lines. It's good if you can do it with a coach, someone like yourself, or a principal or a sales manager or a professional coach. Have them work through them with you, because some people are, honestly, and I'm not criticizing them, but they stand there and they say, "Oh yeah, but it is true that I'm a single dad and I've got to drop my kids to school." That's not a mooring line, that's the truth. And I say, absolutely, that's the truth. And whatever you're doing, that's your top priority, is to drop your kids at school, and if you need to, pick them up. But what I'm saying is, the time that's left between drop off and pick up, or whatever is the distraction that you might be claiming has held you back, I'll be saying, how many connects did you make in prospecting? 0 to 10. If I watched you in a lounge room presenting at a listing, dude, I watched the video. You're a 4 out of 10 lister. It has nothing to do with dropping your kids off. You can drop them off and pick them up and take them for ice cream after school and double your business. Just get better at the things that matter, and that will take you where you want to go. So, that's the way I look at it, and it seems to work for the guys that I'm coaching and have coached in the past. Getting rid of the excuses, removing the mooring lines, and I credit Dr. Fred, your fellow Christchurchian.
Just down here.
Yeah, just down the road, and Dr. Fred was the one who taught me about that, Dr. Fred in Victoria, about mooring lines sort of 25 years ago. So just take ownership, man. Don't just get rid of the excuses. Don't focus on the outer market. Take ownership. and you will then achieve the results that you deserve.
Johnny, I know I'm mindful of your timing. I've got two things I want you to talk about. One of the things that's so important to you and me, and I know the best of the best. They're like avid learners. They've got the beginner's mindset, right? They're learning. They've got books, like, every day they're looking at learning more, and they're like, what can I learn from this person? What can I learn from this person? This conference called AREC, which kindly you've put together some 20 something years ago, right?
25. It's our
And I
20th anniversary.
salute you for that, because this was where I meet you, where I meet Phil, where I meet Michael, where I meet, like, connecting with some of the best on the planet. How important it is for people, because I was running a training session this morning with breakfast with a couple of agents, and I was telling them like how important it is to learn and come to this conference called AREC. Tell me more about that conference in particular.
Well, look, learning for me, and I've been doing what I'm doing for 40 years, and I would say I learn as much today, every day, and not just from being aware, but from actually chasing insights, than I have ever. So I haven't, I guess the moral of the story is I haven't stopped learning or done less learning. Every day I'm watching YouTube, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm when events come up occasionally, I go to watch, like AREC. I mean, AREC's a bit of a one-off because it's pretty amazing, but I'm always looking for new information to coach me. Now, the reason AREC started 25 years ago is I had to fly to America every year to try and expose myself to the best global talent of real estate agents. And that was time consuming, and it cost a lot of money, and it was one person. I couldn't take my whole team. Yeah. So I thought, well, why don't I bring some of the best speakers out to Australia? And then I said, shit, that's going to be expensive. I couldn't afford it. So I'd already invited them, and I said, well, I better start ringing around some of my buddies and seeing if they want to bring their sales team, and they can kick in some of the costs, including some of our Kiwi friends. Anyway, long story short, AREC started in a small group. There might have been 100 people. There was 4 speakers at first AREC. There's now 35 or something. We've got Reese Witherspoon, one of the most successful actors and businesswomen in the history of the world. Amazing. We've got Caitlyn Jenner, who most know prior to transitioning into being Caitlyn, was Bruce Jenner, who was an elite athlete. Subsequently, Caitlyn has become a fantastic spokesperson for so many things around social progress, human progress. We've got Rich Roll, we've got Tommy Ferry, the best real estate coach, I believe, currently in the world.
Genius.
Unbelievable. He's coming out and he'll do a few hours of coaching. And then we've got some great Kiwis, and we've got great Aussies who are agents who are going to be speaking. So you come to AREC, you immerse yourself for 2 days, you sit in a huge auditorium with another 5,000 agents, and you listen to what are the best people in the world doing every day to win more business. And I just figure, man, you can't miss that. If you miss it, you're not serious about your career. And you're right, that's where we met. That's where I met James Tostovan. That's where I met Phil Harris. That's where so many great agents met each other. And it's where so many great agents started. A lot of those people I just mentioned, they were not great when they started coming to AREC. They kind of built their business off the back of ideas and the inspiration that came from AREC. So, yeah, look, I think each year, usually 800 to 1,000 Kiwis fly across to the Gold Coast. If you go, I think it's arecconference.com.au, Nath. But if you Google AREC Real Estate Conference, that'll get you there.
Absolutely. We put a link down below as well, Johnny.
Thank you. Yeah, and like I said, just bring your spouse. Some people now bring their kids and their spouse. It costs you a few $1,000 extra in airfare and no more in accommodation, but bring them across, let them have a good time. Spend 3 or 4 days, go to the conference, spend a day afterwards to kind of debrief. If you're bringing a team, a lot of people now are spending an extra day with their team afterwards, and they're actually sort of booking a hotel conference room and they're debriefing. So what did we learn and what are we going to do differently going forward? So there's lots of good things, and you do create lifelong friendships and great networking as well. So so I'm just looking at the clock because I've got Tommy Panos at 4:30 Aussie time. But look, we'd love as many Kiwis as we can ever get because this is a big one, 25th anniversary. We love you guys, and we think that the Kiwis and the Aussies are doing it as well as anyone in the world, but we can always keep learning from others. So
we put the link below just before I let you go. Your morning routine is some of the best agents' morning routine. Is what I need, John. Please.
Yeah. So first thing, get up early is a really good starting point. If you're sleeping into 6:30, 7:30 or whatever, a lot of people sleep into, too late. So I get up at 5. I find a walk for about 45 minutes with some podcast in the earpods is a great way to start. So you get your body moving, your energy happening, you get your mind moving. I try and get to work by my first meetings. Sometimes they're at work, sometimes they're out of work, are at 7 a.m. in the morning. So I just like getting a start on the day, Nate, because I find that, by the time I'm finishing my second meeting of the day, most agents are just getting out of bed or they're sort of getting into their car to go to work. And I like the mental advantage that gives me.
Yeah.
First day, Phil Harris talks about AM energy, PM energy. AM is about growing, prospecting, building the business. PM, or the afternoon energy, is about going to meetings and following on things. So do your most dollar productive activities in the morning, prospecting, speaking to your clients, your buyer calls, your potential seller calls. So just break it down. Idea week. We'll talk a lot about that at AREC too, but I know you follow all of those things.
Absolutely. Like you said, mental advantage. Like, there's nothing. You cannot prospect unless you had a good start. You had a great start in the morning. To have the mental advantage, you got to get up, work on your mind and your heart and your soul and your body, right?
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you, Johnny, brother. Thank you very much. You're as always very helpful, very kind, and inspiring. Always with me.
One day I'm going to get you to teach me some great boxing moves because you're a world champion real estate agent, you're a world champion boxer, and you're a world champion human being, most importantly. So thank you for your team for setting it up. I will see you at AREC shortly, and hopefully you bring some of your team and your Kiwi colleagues along because we'd love to see you all there. I'll catch up soon.
Our team will be there. Say hello to Tom Panos for me, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Nate. Take care.
Thank you, Tyler. Bye-bye. Bye.